in The Hague again in a few. But here's a report from our Lian Buan, who was an interview with Carlos Conde, who was for a long time the Philippine senior researcher for Human Rights Watch.
That was the last presentation on the submission of merits by lead defense counsel Nicholas Kaufman, and for the first time he refers to or alludes to the witnesses for the defense. He said that they have witnesses to say that there has never been an order to kill, only an order to arrest and make do with the use of force only in self-defense. Sabi niya, that's proof that there's no summary execution, and because all of these were orders just to arrest or to incapacitate a perceived suspect or a perceived criminal. Yung highlight ng last presentation ni Kaufman centers on nanlaban. He doesn't say the word as we know it, yung Filipino na nanlaban, but that's essentially what he was hammering on. Ito yung pinarot niya almost the entirety of his presentation. He presents police documents. He says, I have a lot of police documents that he says heavily corroborate the claim that itong mga napatay na perceived criminals and perceived suspects ay nanlaban. He makes the use of example of Benjamin Visda na nakita natin sa CCTV na nilagay sa motorsiklo. Pero sabi niya, meron akong mga police report na nagsasabing bumunot siya habang naka-motorsiklo. But we know that those police reports have been disputed in all these years that we've been covering the drug war. Human rights lawyers have presented evidence that these were merely copy-pasted. But to talk more about that, we have a longtime journalist, Carlos Conde, who has covered Duterte and Davao City and the Davao Death Squad, and in this time in Human Rights Watch, investigated also the war on drugs. Carlos, while Kaufman was saying, yung pinapakita niya yung police reports, naka-flash. If you don't know anything about the Philippines, iisipin mo, oo nga, may police report siya, but what's the context for the Philippines?
Well, that's exactly kind of the thought that came to my mind una, na tipong, okay, if you didn't know any better, parang wow, it's a compelling argument. But again, I think this is a challenge for anybody who watches this, na kailangan i-contextualize itong mga claim na ito ni Kaufman, because we know, as you pointed out, na itong mga police reports, any police documents during the drug war cannot be trusted fully. And there has been some determination by experts, by lawyers, by researchers that many of these documents are at the very least faulty. At yung iba nga ay talagang kumbaga manufacture or talagang problematic. So, ang ano dito is that yung paggagamit ng mga official police document to prove na walang kaso ang prosecution dito, I think disingenuous, but also I think it frustrates a lot of the families of victims kasi nga they lived all of this during the drug war. Yung mga biktima nila na nilalagay sa dokumento na namatay daw sa pneumonia, sa kung ano ng sakit, pero in fact may bala sa katawan. Ito yung mga sample sa kanila eh. At ito yung tingin ko mahirap intindihin or baka hindi kayang makita ng mga taga hindi sa Pilipinas, yung hindi alam yung nangyayari sa Pilipinas. So ulitin ko lang, hindi pwedeng pagkatiwalaan ang lubos-lubusan ang mga dokumentong nanggagaling sa pulis kasi mga kumbaga mga
it's a polluted
source na siya. So I don't know kung paano i-appreciate ito ng mga huwes dito sa ICC, yung context na yan, but we're hoping na sana i-take into account nila ito.
What were you thinking when Kaufman referred to their own witnesses saying, alam mo, wala naman talagang order to kill? Can we surmise that these are also police officers? And if they are police officers, if police officers yung witnesses for the defense, how do you appreciate that, knowing that Duterte and Bato controlled the PNP?
It's ito yung actually nakakagalit dito sa nangyayari dito eh, dahil nga yung mga kapalpakan ng pulis, yung mga hindi na magandang ginawa nila are being used to defend themselves. Kasi alam naman natin sa Pilipinas yung nangyayari itong drug war, na lahat ng mga hakbang na ginawa ng pulis were geared toward fulfilling kung ano yung mga in-order ni Duterte, were geared toward fulfilling kung ano yung objective ng drug war. And no matter how they spin this, Yan ang katotohanan sa Pilipinas. Now, I understand na si Kaufman as the defense lawyer would do whatever it takes to convince kasi ang problema dito, Lian, ang audience ni na Kaufman dito, hindi naman yung
Mga Pilipino.
at hindi naman publiko. Hindi nga din publiko ng New Zealand. Ang audience nila, yung 3 huwes na andito. So, medyo medyo limitado yung tawag dito, yung aspect na yun. And yung nakakatakot dito kasi nga, kung dito ka lang sa korte, pakikinggan mo sila at wala kang alam, hindi mo aalamin kung anong nangyayari sa Pilipinas, yung buong context dito. Nakakatakot yung idea na baka makalusot sila dito.
Yeah. Just lastly, before we both head into the gallery, as someone who has reported on the death squad, anong nararamdaman mo na paulit-ulit sinabi that the Davao death squad is a media construct and a fantasy?
Well, nakakagalit din, no? Kasi, unang-una naman, totoo naman na media naman talaga yung gumamit ng Davao death squad.
The term, the label.
The label na Davao death squad, media naman talaga. Totoo yan, andun ako nun. Nung kami sa Davao nun. Pero the whole structure ng organisasyon na yan, kahit anong tawag pa dyan, in fact, ang tawag kanina Edgar Matubato nung una dyan is Lambada Boys.
As they heard Kaufman say.
Yeah, ay yun yung andun yung structure na yan. So, medyo disingenuous yung pag-i-insist nila na walang Davao Death Squad kasi invento lang ng media. Hindi. Yung term lang, syempre, alam naman ng media, syempre, kung ano yung sexy pakinggan, kung ano yung madaling tandaan. Sabihin na natin, medyo ng konti, tawag ito,
They told the story very well using catchy words.
So, yun ang katotohanan. Pero ang katotohanan is that yung structure ng Davao Death Squad as the killing machine in Davao and then later on sa buong Pilipinas was real and it happened.
All right, we need to go to the gallery. So thank you. We'll be back with more updates.
Thank you, Lian. I want to talk about that concept of